You want to make sure it heats up till it's red. These glasses are also good for that, so when it gets to a point where it's the right temperature, color is actually in direct proportion to temperature. And in this case, when you see red in these glasses, it's ready to go. Now let's get this hunk of junk off here and get the new one on. This was the fun part. When you're done using your torches, make sure you turn them off at the tanks. This will prevent any of the gas from leaking out, and it will leak out past those valves. Good set of valves or not, it will do precisely that. This little torch set that I got here has worked and served me pretty well in my limited use, but if you're cutting, if you're doing lots of this kind of thing, big tanks are the way to go. But this stuff right here is still the same, you just put it on bigger tanks. Now that it's cooled down a little bit, you can take the fasteners out. Bye-bye. Don't forget to take your little rubber thing, because you'll need it later. See ya. This is the part where I try to decide whether I'm going to reuse the old gasket or start with a new one. You know what? When a pipe gets this old and rusty, this is the new gasket here. It's got graphite in it, which acts like a lubricant, and basically allows the pipe to wiggle back and forth without making noise. Pretty much what it does. Alright, now, to get this old one off, what you're going to need to do is pry it off. I'm just afraid in the process of prying this one off that this rusty pipe, which probably isn't long for this world, but once again it's my brother's car, this rusty pipe here may end up going away with this gasket, and I'll have nothing to put this new gasket on. So I'm actually just going to leave this gasket alone, since it seems fairly well intact, and just put the pipes on from there. My new muffler comes in 3 pieces. This is a cheap muffler. It'll work just fine, but it won't last as long as the good muffler kits, which are all 1 piece, which is similar to the original equipment. This will work just fine, but you're going to have to put these pieces together. You're also going to need some of these clamps. This spring bolt kit, I don't know if it's going to work or not for what I have, just because it didn't have spring bolts on it to begin with, so it might not work, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Now I'm going to build this 1 piece at a time, and I'm going to start by threading the pipe up over the suspension to get it down to here onto, this is referred to as the B pipe, and then this is referred to as the muffler on Hondas. So I'm just going to get that basically lined up, and I'm just going to put my bolts in, but I'm not going to tighten them. I'm going to see if these spring bolts are going to work out or not. If they don't, no big deal. First I'll see if they'll thread into the old holes. And they won't. So they won't work. So I have to find a set of fasteners. Now, I could return this spring bolt kit for some money, but honestly I won't, because you never know when you're going to need these. If it's just your car, but if you're working on lots of cars, I always keep some of these spring bolts around because they have come in handy. Now I'm going to do something that some of you are probably going to scream at me about. Leave me nasty comments. But you know what? I might just reuse these old ones. These were hardened anyway. And I held it in place. So rather than trying to go and dig up some other fasteners, I'm just going to reuse these old ones. But I'm going to do one thing before I do. Everything always works better with a little lubrication. It really, really does. So, a little drop. I know this isn't oil in here, it's transmission fluid. Just because. No particular reason. Oil works just fine. This next one, a little bit of stuff get it started. But I'm not going to tighten it, I'm just going to run it down a little bit. Remember our good friend penetrating oil? And our little rubber things? Bring it around. And I'm just mocking this thing into place for the moment. I'm not tightening anything. I'm only getting it hung. And then I'm not going to tighten anything until it's all together. Now comes the part where we got to put this guy on. Alright. Cast into the outside of this thing. There is an arrow that points in both directions. Some mufflers are directional to where you'll have to make sure that it comes out one side or the other. On this particular one, or it should be marked somewhere. It should say outlet. This one does not. But I'm going to take it that this double-sided arrow means stick it up on there. Doesn't matter how. Just get it up on there. You know what? That little rubber thing is never going to make it between those two hooks now, is it? Take this out. Flip it around. See what we come up with that way. That looks a little more realistic. Time has come to position our clamps. Now, if my parts guy was good to me, he gave me the correct size clamps because these things come in different sizes. My parts guy was awesome. Thanks, Keith. Repeat on the other side. Ta-da! All right, I'm going to start by tightening it in sequence from where it connects to the B pipe all the way back to the outlet. Now it's important when you tighten this that one, the pipe is all the way in, but more importantly that you get the orientation correct, because on these three-piece things, you know, this could go up or down or all over the place as far as its position goes. So you want to make sure there's a position to where it's got some clearance with the underside of the car, because I've actually seen these causing noise because they were pushed up against the floor of the vehicle. So you don't want it to do that, and you also want it to cleanly exit. So you want to try to position your outlet pipe so that it fits in a good spot on the bumper, and you also want to position the muffler in just the right spot. Now once you've got that spot, this is where having air tools really helps. You can just start tightening it down. Now it's time to test the fruits of your labor. Smooth and quiet. You want to go around the outside, check for leaks. There will be, especially at those joints. Don't worry about it. Also, if you see a little bit of water coming out of a hole in the muffler, totally normal. It's there to drain the water out. If it wasn't there, your muffler would rust worse than it does. As always, you can post questions as text or video responses. Do some video responses, people. Let me see your faces. As always, you can visit me at EricTheCarGuy.com. I am EricTheCarGuy, and I hope this information was helpful to you. I would like you to use your torches safely and not get hurt. But it is a very powerful tool, so it may open up a whole new world of possibilities for you. Tune in next week for another episode of Eric the Car Guy. Stay dirty.